Alright, so this is going to be my demo video for 2-button controls on my prop file. I do have the update to add 1-button control from, I basically took SA22C's file, I'm adding it to my prop. We're just finishing that up, so there will be a 1-button option in OS6 for my prop with pretty much all the same features. But this is going to be the 2-button version, so you power and aux. And technically this would run for 3-button if you do have 3 buttons. I haven't seen very many Sabers with 3 buttons, to be honest, but technically you would use it. But so I'm going to run through all the basic controls. I do have a separate video on edit mode, just because the edit mode with all the menus ends up being like a half an hour itself. So this is going to be the primary controls on my prop for 2-button for ProffieOS6, which has a lot of new controls, a lot of new features. So we're going to run through them. So we'll start with the Saber off. When your Saber is first off and it's powered up, if you just click the power button, your blade will ignite. And then if you want to turn it off, now I do have new defines. So in merging in SA22C's 1-button, I also adopted 2 of his controls that you can enable with define. So by default, this is set up default. If you want to turn your Saber off with 2 buttons, just click power. Now there is the new power lock feature, which allows you to actually lock the power button so that doesn't happen. And that'll be covered a little bit later. But you're able to now have the ability to do a hold button using a define, which matches up to SA22C's file. So that'll be covered in the documentation. So now while the Saber's off, if you want to change presets, and this is the same as it was in OS 5, to just change the preset one at a time, to go forward you're going to have your Saber parallel or up, and you're just going to click the aux button. And then if you want to go back to a previous preset, you're going to point your Saber down and you're going to press the aux button. Okay? Now, there's a new feature, which is the presets menu, and what that does is it lets you utilize the rotation, the new menu system, so you can actually turn your hilt right or left to go forward or back through all of your presets. So if you have a lot of presets, instead of having to keep clicking the button, and then if you click too far, having to point down and click, you can now use the dial to actually choose all your presets. So to go into the new scroll presets, which is the preset menu, actually do a long click on aux, and it'll say select preset.
Select presets.
So now if I want to go forward, I'm going to turn right. If I want to go backward, I turn left. And if I want to go back, I turn left. And then when you get to the one you want, you're just going to click your power button. And that'll lock that preset in. So that allows you to now dial through all of your presets very easily. Track, so playing tracks and track player are the same control. It's going to be orientation. So if you just want to play your default track one time, and this is the track that's set up in the config, or if you do edit tracks, the default track for your preset, you're going to keep your Saber pointing up, and you're going to do a long click on power. And that will start your default track. And then to stop it at any time, you're going to do a long click on power. Alright, now, track player. So track player, you do have to have your font set up. So any track that you put in your font or your common folder, you can actually now access with track player. Track player also has the ability for you to have 4 different playback modes. So when you go into track player, it's going to be a long click on power, and then you're going to play. It's always going to start with your default track. That's just always. But if you want to roll, you can scroll through all available tracks in the font by turning right to go forward or left to go backward. And then, if you find the track you want, if you want to play it just once, so you can select any track you want, you want to play it just once, you're going to click the power button. If you find a track and you want to have that track just loop over and over again until you decide to stop it, you're actually going to hold the power button and you're going to turn the hilt left. And that will loop the track, and it'll actually say loop. If you want to rotate, so say you want to start from one track and go sequentially through all your tracks continuously, you're going to hold the power button and you're going to turn right, and that will rotate through all of the tracks that are in the font. And then lastly, there's the random option, so you can choose any track you want to start, and you'll just click your aux button while in the menu, and it will actually randomize. So it'll play whatever track you have selected, and then randomly keep selecting tracks until you stop it. And to stop the tracks at any time is just a long click on power. So we're going to keep our Saber paralleler down to go into track player. Again, it's going to start on my default track, but now I can rotate right to go forward. or I can rotate left to go backward. And now, if I just wanted to play this track one time, I just click the power button. There's a small beep, and then this track will just play once, and then it'll stop. So just clicking it once is basically play once. All right, so now we'll stop it. Oops. It's a long click on power. So long click, hold it for a second and let go. So now we'll go back into track player. Again, always starts at the default track. Let's go backwards this time. And then if I wanted to have this track just loop over and over again, you're going to hold the power button and turn left. And then it'll say loop, and it gets covered over. Some of your tracks, if they're really loud, they're going to cover over the voice prompt. But now this track will just continuously loop until I decide to stop it. And then you can also do the rotate, so we'll go in again. We'll start with the default track, we'll just leave it. If you wanted to just start with this track and then go through all of them sequentially, you're going to hold that power button and you're going to turn right.
Rotate.
And what will happen is now it will rotate starting at this track, and then it'll go sequentially through all the tracks that it finds in the font. And then lastly is going to be the random. So again, you can pick whatever you want. And then if you want to do random, you're just going to click your AUX button.
Random.
So now it'll finish this track and then randomly select tracks after it, again, until you stop it. So track player continuously plays if you choose loop, rotate, or random, and you just stop at any time with a long click on power. Now, if your Saber's on, you can stop it. So let me show. So we'll just put this track on. And if your Saber's on, and you want to stop a track, you're just going to point up, and you're going to do a long click on power. Oops. I keep letting go too quickly, so now it stopped the track. Alright, so that's also part of the controls. Let's see. Alright, so another new feature. So we do have all the gesture ignitions. So I've got swing on active, I think I have twist on active. I think there's twist on's active, etc. And a new feature on my prop is if you want to put those gestures to sleep. So this is just gesture ignitions. But say you wanted to take the blade out, you wanted to keep the Saber turned on because you got this cool accent crystal and you want to wear it on your hip or something, but you don't want walking or swinging or any motion to actually accidentally ignite your Saber. You can activate gesture sleep. What gesture sleep does is it turns off the gesture ignitions until you decide to reactivate them. So gesture sleep is going to just be holding your power button and twisting.
Gestures off.
It'll say gestures off, and now all my gesture ignitions are asleep. I can still ignite the blade normally with the power button, but your gesture ignitions are now turned off. And then if you want to turn your gesture ignition back on, you're just going to hold power and twist again.
Gestures on.
Now my gestures are on, and I've got them all back. So it's a new feature that allows you to put those gestures to sleep temporarily. There is also a define if you want to save that. So if you want to have it so the gestures are off automatically when you first boot the Saber up, there is a define to enable that. But gesture sleep is now available. And the twist motion, so the twist motion is going to come into play a lot. When it's just a regular twist, it's a forward and back. So you're twisting one direction, coming back the other direction. For the menu system, you do have the turn right and turn left. So those are single directions. So just so people get used to it, the twist motion is a back and forth movement. Kind of like revving a motorcycle, we always say. So some people always do it one direction. The single directions are turn left and turn right. Those are only for the menu system. Let's see, we've got the menu, the volume menu. You can still access the volume menu now. I've changed the controls to use the dial because it's a little bit easier. It also clears up some buttons. So to go into the volume menu, you're going to hold the power button and click AUX.
Volume menu.
Goes into volume menu. I think I'm already at max.
Maximum volume.
So turning right will increase up to the maximum volume, but you can decrease by turning left. And then if you're not at maximum, you can increase by turning right.
Maximum volume.
Up to maximum, and then to save, you're just going to click the power button.
Exiting volume menu.
And you can have that sound be whatever you want. So mine says exiting volume menu. If you just wanted like a noise or a specific effect, you can always do that. And that's with any of the sounds. The menu prompts, the voices, you're not going to want to touch those because they're actually telling you stuff. But volume menu has some separate controls, and a few other ones have separate WAV files you can actually pick for them. And then I've got, so we do have the on-demand battery level. You do have to have the style for it to be visual, but there's two new defines in my prop. One of them is the say battery level volts. That will say the current voltage of your battery. And then the other one, which we just added, is the say battery level percent. And that will actually tell you your battery level as a percentage. Now, you could technically run both defines, but it's going to say everything all at once. So you have battery level, 90%, battery voltage, 3.9 volts or something, which you can do if you really want that, but that seems like overkill. This one only has the percentage active. So you're going to hold your AUX button and click power, and I've got the style on here too.
Battery level 86%.
86%, and then you'll see the effect on the edge of the blade. You can change those styles, so that the effect that's shown is dependent upon your style. The spoken part, you just have to do a define for that, and you obviously have to have the wave files to support it. So those are all of your main controls while the Saber's off. The other one is edit mode. Edit mode is a completely separate menu system, and you have to enable it. But to go into edit mode, I'm just going to go into it, but there's a separate video on all the controls for that. You're just going to actually hold both buttons.
Edit mode.
And then your Saber will launch in edit mode. It turns itself on, and you can do all the changes. So you can
edit style, edit color, edit font, edit track, edit settings, copy preset, delete preset, exit.
And I'm going to exit now, because that would be a whole other half hour of recording just to get that done. So now, actually, let's keep the Saber on. Alright, so while your Saber's on, here's all your basic controls. So we already showed how you turn it off, which is just a click. There is the new define if you want to do the hold power button for off. So you can also enable that. This one's set just for click off. If you want to do your blast effect, you're just going to click your AUX button. And that'll do your blast effect. Multi-blast is still on my prop. And for multi-blast, what you're going to do is you're going to do which one did we do for multi-blast? Oh, it's a long click on AUX. I'm sorry, I changed some controls and stuff. Plus, doing all that one button stuff for those of you who are using one button Sabers, that was a ton of work, and my mind is a little bit scrambled from making those one button controls. So I hope you all appreciate what went into that. So to go into multi-blast mode on two button Sabers is a long click on your AUX button, and what you're going to get a false blast, which means no effect, but you're going to hear the sound. Or you can actually have sound effects. There is a BM begin wave that will actually play if you want. You can have it be a quote, you can have it be a certain sound effect, a force effect, whatever you wanted. But this one's just going to do a false blast. And now, in multi-blast mode, each swing will deflect a blast. And to get out of multi-blast mode, you can either just clash or do a lockup, or you can just click the AUX button again. And that will deactivate multi-blast mode. So multi-blast mode, the idea is you don't have to keep mashing that AUX button to do multiple blaster blocks. So if you were deflecting a lot of blasts, you go into multi-blast mode, deflect them all, and then you can get out of it either by clicking AUX again or by if you were to do a lockup. So if you're really into, messing around, you could be blocking a bunch of blasters, and then as soon as you go and clash against another person's Saber, it's going to deactivate automatically. So multi-blast is there. We do have, obviously, clash, which is, so if you set up the real clash sound and the clash impact effects, your clashes now, as well as your beginning and lockup, are actually going to be based on how hard the Saber is getting hit. So that's a big improvement and like a huge jump in realism. So if you do lighter hits, you'll see it'll be a smaller. If you do bigger hits, so the effect actually reacts to how hard your Saber is getting hit. And if you set up your font and you run the clash strength sound define, it's actually also going to pick the sounds based on how hard the hit is. So that way you can have the sounds and the visuals really react, so that if you have like light taps, it's not some big massive impact. And then if you have bigger hits, it's a much bigger sound, it's a much bigger effect. So that's part of the real clash setup. That's all in the documentation. Lockup is going to be holding the power button and clashing. You get your lockup. And your begin and your end lockup effects actually also register the strength. Now lockup itself, because the effect is meant to be movement, it starts off based on the clash, but then it'll centralize itself. And this one actually has the intensity lockup. I didn't show that. So there's so many new effects, I actually can't cover them all. So this is really just the controls, but let me show the intensity lockup. So the longer you hold this lockup, it's actually going to get larger and more intense. And of course it's fully responsive. And then when you let it go, it actually has that ripple effect on this one. And then let's see, so where are we? We're on drag. So drag effect is going to be holding the aux button and stabbing down. So all the stabs, so melt and drag, what you want to do is you want the impact on the surface to be at the tip of the blade, and that's what creates that linear movement. So we're going to point this saber down, hold aux, click down. Oops. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I held aux in my hand. Let me get out of battle mode. So battle mode, to go in and out of battle mode, I changed it so it's just holding the aux button. So if you hold the aux button for too long, you're going to go into battle mode. But we'll do it. There we go. So stab down, that's my drag effect. And then same thing, melt is going to be holding aux and stabbing the wall. And this has the intensity melt on it, so it'll actually turn into a fire after I've left it long enough. And then you just saw, if I want to go in and out of battle mode, it used to be holding aux and swing. Now, if this is part of the new defines, if you use the hold lockup define from SA22C's file, it changes the battle mode back to the old way where you hold aux and swing to activate it. I got a lot of feedback in OS5, so now it's just holding the aux button and you'll go into battle mode. And again, you can have that sound be whatever you want. It's a BM begin, BM end. But now I'm in battle mode. And battle mode 2.0 has the new clash detect feature where you can actually have later clashes, even in battle mode, do clash. There's a whole write-up on battle mode 2.0, but that's now possible. But let's get out of battle mode.
And battle mode.
I have a little bit more for battle mode. We'll get back to that in a second. Let's see. Oh, the new force and quote player. So your force effect is the same, but I've added a new function that allows you to also have quotes. So if your saber is parallel, and you want basically parallel or anywhere within close to parallel, you're going to get the force effect or the quote effect. So by default it'll be force effect. And that's a long click on the power button. Now if I want to change to quotes, I'm going to point down, and it's pretty much pointing almost straight down. This way you have a little bit more range for the movement, and you're going to do that long click on power again.
A very good friend of mine told me to go out, find my place in the galaxy.
And if you have quotes in your font, it'll now change that force button to do quotes. So now every time I do the long click and release, it'll do quotes.
I believe I can't keep hiding from the Empire, so I don't really have a choice.
If you want to go back to force effect, you're just going to point down again, and you're going to do that long click. And it switches back to the force effect. Now, there's a difference between force and quote. So force effects are random, and you can actually set up visual effects for force on your blade. Quotes play sequentially, as they're set up in the font, and there's no effect visually, so it's just a quote. But quote player is new, and you toggle the mode by pointing straight down and doing the effect, and then you bring it back to parallel. And the reason it's kind of in the parallel movement is tracks. You can start and stop your default track if you're pointing straight up. So your force is basically like, say, about 45 up and 45 down. This range here is to do force and quote. If you're pointing straight up, it's going to be to do your track, so you can do a long click. This track's a little low for the hum, but it's going to start you. And the track player while you're on is always your default track. Track player that lets you pick the tracks you have to do all the sabers off. Again, it's just because of all the controls. And then you can turn it off anytime by pointing up and doing a long click, and now it's off. But so you can toggle force and quote. And let's see, color change. So there's a lot with color change. So I'm going to do a quick demo, but color change in my prop is actually going to be based on your styles now. So if you have older styles that use the Rotate Colors X with variation, or use the color change, or styles that don't have either of those defined but just use the color wheel, you're going to do the old color wheel capabilities. All the new styles for edit mode are actually using color editing. So I'll probably have to do a whole separate video on this. Color editing is different than color change. Color change uses variation. What that does is it varies the color of the base color of whatever you choose, but it does it all at once. So if you have crystals or accents or whatever, they all get affected and they all get the same application. Edit colors lets you individually edit the blade colors and all effects. So edit colors is a lot more functionality than what the color wheel does. So if you have a style that uses edit mode and uses the edit mode arguments, it's going to, color change is actually going to be the color list. And the reason for that is if you try to use variation on edit mode styles, it actually doesn't work quite so well because of how edit colors works. So edit colors is actually changing the color itself as opposed to just applying a variation. All these styles are actually set up for edit mode. So when I go into color change, it's actually going to go to the color list. And you can choose to just have the regular color change sounds, or there is a define to have it say the color names if you want. So we'll go into color change. So color change is going to be parallel down. We're going to hold the AUX and click power. We get our color change sound, and now I can rotate through my colors.
Red, orange, red, dark orange, orange, gold, yellow, green, green, aquamarine, cyan, deep sky blue, dodger blue, blue, ice blue, indigo, purple, deep purple, magenta, deep pink, silver, glacier, silver, deep pink.
I'm going to go back
magenta,
to blue just because I like blue on this font.
Purple, purple, indigo, ice blue, blue.
And then when you get to the color you want, you're just going to click your power button. It'll save. Now it's going to reset the blade. That's because we're using color editing. So color editing actually does a little bit different than color change. So when you use the color change on a color editing style, it does react a little bit differently. But I'll probably have to make a separate video and write up on all that. Power save, if you have it active, is going to be pointing up. Hold AUX and click power. I don't think I have that on these. And then the multi-phase controls are still active. But actually for multi-phase, I've actually made an improvement because some of the new capabilities for OS 6, so multi-phase in OS 5, when you did it, you would get the font out wave playing and you would get a reignition sound. And in order to clean that up and make multi-phase really more like if you turn the Saber, you're changing the crystal and it's happening in real time, there's a new function that runs it. It skips the font out wave, so you're not going to get that sound. Particularly some of your fonts have like spoken things and people didn't really like that. But it's also going to it's going to skip the ignition, the ignition sound. It still actually reignites your blade because it's swapping over. But so if you have the define in place and you use multi-phase, you're going to hold the power button and twist to go forward a preset, or you can hold the AUX button and twist to go back a preset. And it's a really quick preset change now. So, oops, I did a force effect. I let go of my button too quickly. So now I'm in to my next preset, and if I want to go back a preset, I'll click AUX. Oh, I'm sorry, I reversed that. AUX and twist goes forward. Power and twist goes backward. I was, again, working on the one button, so it was a little different on one button. So AUX and twist goes forward, and then power and twist would go back. So, and you'll notice it's not saying the font, it's a really quick ignition. So that's new. Multi-phase has been updated to work even better. You do have to have the define for that. And then we'll finish up talking about battle mode. So I showed it earlier accidentally, but to go into battle mode now, if a lot of this is going to be dependent upon defines, because there's actually a lot of defines related to battle mode, so, and they carry over from OS 5. Normally, if you just activate ignition, gesture ignitions, all of them by default automatically do battle mode. That's how I like it. That's on purpose. You can choose to have ignitions without automatic battle mode, or you can disable battle mode at any time just by doing the hold on AUX. So my Saber is already ignited. I'm going to go into battle mode just by holding AUX.
Battle mode.
So I'm in battle mode. So in battle mode, again, I noted earlier, battle mode 2.0, if you set your clash detect level, you can actually have it so lighter hits will still do clash effects. But you get your automatic lockup, and then pull away ends lockup. So battle mode, the idea, some people who are new to battle mode is just to make the Saber more immersive. So you don't have to think about the buttons. And because you can go in and out of it, if you're used to using the buttons, if you prefer using the buttons, you don't have to use battle mode. But for those of you who want to have a little bit more realism in the Saber reacting to what you're doing with it, that's what battle mode's intended for. It's really for fun. But so you can do your lockup just by hitting. And again, if you have the clash detect set up for battle mode 2.0, you can still have your light clashes. You can also have glancing clashes. So if you swing through an object and continue on the same trajectory, it actually does a clash effect. I don't have anything really good to do that with here. And then what else do we got? Melt. Now there's no button for melt. And then you pull away. And then drag, same thing, there's no button for drag in battle mode. And all you're ending in battle mode in order to end any effect is just a pull away, which is just a really quick movement away from whatever object you've hit. And then if you do a harder clash in battle mode and you want to not have it do lockup, part of that is the lockup delay, which is a define that you control, but it's also just a movement. So if you hit something really quickly and then pull away from it, it's going to do a really quick begin and end lockup, but essentially it creates a clash effect. So it's like that. So that's if you hit hard enough. If you have clash detect, you still get the lower end clashes. And then a new feature in battle mode, so this is another part of battle mode 2.0. If you do a blast effect in battle mode and then you swing again within 2 seconds, it actually goes into multi-blast mode automatically. And the idea behind that is if you're in battle mode and you're deflecting a bunch of blaster blocks, you don't want to have to keep mashing that blast button. So you can go into multi-blast the normal way, which is a long click on AUX, but if you really want to, you can actually just do a blast and then swing again within 2 seconds of that first blast. You will stay in multi-blast mode until you hit the AUX button again, or until you clash or lockup. So if I blast again, it gets rid of it, and then if you wanted to go back in and do, so like in particular if you're deflecting a bunch of Stormtrooper blasts and then you have, you know, an Inquisitor behind you and you clash against them, it automatically turns it off. So you just do your blast block, multiple blasts, go in, lock up, and then it deactivates it as well. So that's another addition for battle mode 2.0. It's swing within 2 seconds of doing blast with the button. The first blast, obviously, you have to use the button. Otherwise, you're going to have blast effects all the time. But the first time you do a blast, if you swing within 2 seconds of it, you're going to get multi-blast mode automatically. And then every swing will be deflecting a blast until you click blast again, or until you do a clash or lockup or any of the other effects. So that's part of battle mode 2.0. And that's all of the main stuff. Now all your other control, oh, I didn't show lightning block, that was the one. So lightning block in both battle mode and in normal mode is going to be hold power and click AUX. It works the same for both battle mode and regular because we need to know there's no impact or anything happening on the Saber, so that's why the button control had to stay for lightning block. And there was no good logical gesture to make lightning block really work, so that one stays as a button control. Your force and quote also work the same in battle mode, and same with start and stop track. Those work the same in battle mode. But the rest of battle mode is gesture based, and then again, if you want to get out of battle mode at any time, you just hold the AUX button.
End battle mode.
And then you're back into normal operation. So I'm going to do separate videos. I have a separate video on edit mode already. I'm going to do a separate video on choreography mode, which is only available for 2-button sabers, but that's also, I have to put that together. But there's a ton of new features, there's a ton of new defines coming, and again, I'm going to have that 1-button support for all of you who wanted it, and that's, it is based on SA22C's 1-button, so I'm using his as the basis. I've adapted it to mine, and then I've added all the new features for 1-button, so that'll also be coming very soon. So lots of stuff coming. We are getting close to beta. Those of you who want to read up, check out the Crucible. Definitely check out my channel, and I have a bunch of pages linked for you to read up on everything that's coming, so hope you enjoy.